Hey, everybody, welcome to the Bituation Room Notes from the Sunken Place. That's what I'm trying out. I'm trying that out because we are deeply in the sunken place, the upside down, the never coulda, woulda, or shoulda in totalitarian United States of dumb fuckery. Thank you so much for being here, for joining me, for pressing play in the future, in the present. In the past, what? We have such a good show today. Krystal Ball of Krystal, Kyle and Friends, and of Breaking Points is here. Also going to be joined by Matt Broomfield, who is coming direct from London to talk about his new book, Hope Without Hope, Rojava and Revolutionary Commitment, out by AK Press today, learning all about the Kurdish Rojava revolution in northern Syria, what it means for revolution around the world, and how in the darkest of times, Rojava and the Kurds there were able to actually free themselves and defend their gains. And so I have a lot to learn. I'm excited to bring Matt in, especially also because I cite him quite a lot in a new video that I have out right now about Gaza. That's right, people. You know what it is. This is the Bituation Room podcast. I'm your host, Francesca Fiorentini, but YouTube is going to be a little bit more focused on that long form, deep dive video essays that I used to do for AJ Plus and Newsbroke. And my first video is called The 5 Most Insane Plans for the Future of Gaza. Gaza 35 being one of them, which is basically an idea to create a free trade zone called the Elon Musk Smart Manufacturing Zone. Those and other tidbits, including what Matt is going to be breaking down for us a little bit later on in the show. Go to that video if you haven't watched it. Share it with your folks and your people. Look, it's a big swing for me to do these, and it is a lot more intensive and a lot more money and with less payoff, right? Because when you throw endless things at the algorithm, YouTube rewards you. When you throw only a few things at the algorithm that are well researched and funny and interesting, YouTube does not reward you. And that's where you all come in. And thank you to all the patrons who've supported me through this pivot as we keep going. You can be that person as well. Patreon.com/bituationroom is where you go. Again, you will actually get early access to every single video that we release, probably by a day. But know that it is first there for your eyes only, and you're supporting me, Paige, the awesome Brent, who has been editing these, and also gives me a little bit more time to do dumb things like Christy Gnome impressions in my spare time. That's also part of my job. So you're welcome, and thank you guys so much. I hope you guys like that first video. Again, please watch it. Also, a few announcements before we get into it, guys. Matt and I are going to be in Seattle Friday night, August 1st at Laughs Comedy in the U District, I think. So come out, Seattle. Come see us on Friday. Tickets are going fast. And Saturday, August 2nd, we'll be in South Seattle at the Rainier Art Center for a live Bituation Room. It will be fun. It will be insightful. It will be a good hang. Me, Matt, and Ijoma Oluo, who is an awesome author, and I'm really excited to have her on. She is a local based in Seattle. So don't think I didn't try to get Macklemore, because I did. Am I going to probably fire off another email to try and get him? Maybe. Just a DM in the dark. I've done worse. The point is, get your tickets wherever you're listening or watching this. I'm really excited that folks are coming through. I'm excited to see y'all in person in Seattle. It'll be the best thing that weekend, although the seaplane race is happening that weekend. So it is worth it to battle the traffic for Franny Fio, because I came all the way to Seattle for your asses. So yes, thank you so much. And let's get into it. What we're bitching about. There's a lot of other things. Oh, I also want to say, with your Patreon support, you get 20% off of our merch, which I need to tell you that it is not easy for me to do 100% union made merch, and most of your favorite lefty shows do not. Why? It doesn't earn money at all. This is swag for you and for the love of the game. So please support it, even if you're not a patron. Patreon.com, habituationroom.com is where you go. T-shirts, tote bags, for Antifa stickers. Get it. Support the show. There's like, women's cut sizes, and all that. So I'm gonna be adding new items, but for now, I really need y'all to like show your love in the form of swag. And with that, let's get into it. This is What Are You Bitching About? So to keep it a little bit light, first, before I get really, really sad, I'm bitching about the fact that everyone's using AI. Please stop. I don't care that it is a joke song making fun of the Epstein files. I don't care that it's a parody song you thought up in your brain. You write it down, you record the song, or you find someone who is an artist. Do not use AI, even if it's for a joke. Stop. It's not funny. It's corny, and I know you mean well, but I don't like it. It sucks massive energy and fresh water, and you need to leave it alone, okay? Leave it alone, put it down, put it down. Thank you. No, but this week, look, the last few days have been really somber because we've seen the lives that fascism claims and continues to claim, and it will continue to claim unless we push back and defend one another. And to me, two of the deaths that happened over this weekend that are resonating with me are the death of Jaime Alanis, who was a 57-year-old farm worker in Ventura County who was working at the Glass House Farms, which was a farm that grew marijuana, cannabis, also like cucumbers and tomatoes. ICE raided it, arrested 200 people, 10 children, which Kristi Noem said, was saving them from child labor. No, none of this is saving children because you're arresting their parents. In fact, children are working more because you're arresting their parents and they have to make ends meet. And Jaime was trying to escape. I believe he was trying to actually hide, and he fell 30 feet and fractured his skull and broke his spine. And he died. He died a couple days later when his family from Mexico could come see him and say their goodbyes. And I think it pairs sort of really well in terms of the fascism that we're seeing here as well as abroad, and the death of an American named Saif Musalet. Saif is Palestinian, was Palestinian. He was going to turn 21, I believe, shortly. He was born in Florida. He worked at his family's ice cream shop in Tampa. And he was attacked by Israeli settlers on a visit to the West Bank in the town of Sinjar, which has been under increasing attack from Israeli settlers as Israeli police stand by and just let it happen. He was beaten to death. He was beaten first, and then the settlers prevented ambulances from reaching him, and he died. And I think these deaths are related because they really show who are going to be and who are the victims of the fascist state that we are living in. And they are workers, they are Palestinian, they're anyone who speaks out for Palestine. I mean, I would like to say it was only race-based, but then we all know that we're still living on a timeline where Rachel Corrie has never gotten justice and her family's never gotten justice when an Israeli bulldozer murdered her in cold blood as she stood in front of a home to prevent its demolition from Israeli bulldozers. But I want to just, pour one out and remember both Saif and Jaime and send love to their families because this is the kind of shit that we're going to be dealing with a lot. And there is no responsibility. There's no accountability. These deaths will always be blamed on the victims themselves. And this also shows where our money is going, right? It is going to a police state that is hunting immigrants, and it is going to a police state that abroad in really a model of what fascists, salivate over, which is the West Bank and Israel, something that is fully militarized and where people's land and livelihoods are violently seized. And they are ethnically cleansed. I mean, that is a dream for the right in this country. So I have to name those. There is there's something more poetic to be said. And maybe it's not coming to me, but, there we go. let's pivot in the clunkiest way possible, as a transition to let you know that when these stories hit me, it's very difficult to calm down and relax and like take the long view and understand that like the arc of justice, is long. Of history is long, but it bends towards justice, right? And that is why the arc of Sunset Lake CBD helps me get to sleep when I have too much sadness in my head. SunsetLakeCBD.com is a proud sponsor of this podcast. And I want to let you know they've got new salve sticks, which are basically they're salves that you used to just like get out of their containers and put it on your aching bones. I have tendonitis in my hands. That's why if you notice, I use a stylus. I can't use a mouse. I can click on a mouse like 10 times and then I hurt. So Sunset Lake CBD salves are awesome. Now they're coming in sticks. And also they've doubled their formula, so there's way more CBD in them, and you can get them for 25% off. It's like a great opportunity to try them. See if they work for your aching muscles, your joints, whatever it is. There's no excuse not to try this. Code NEWSTICKS, 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 all one word. Sale ends July 20th at midnight. So go over to sunsetlakecbd.com and use the code NEWSTICKS to treat your aches and pains to some much deserved relief. And then also, let me just say, as a busy mom doing, Christy Nome impressions for the internet, sometimes, in fact, all the time, I don't know what I'm having for lunch. And that's why I'm really glad that I started getting Factor meals, because now I'm like, oh, tight. I can have something that is filling and healthy, and I'm not just eating Trader Joe's frozen food, because Factor meals is never frozen, always fresh, chef crafted and delivered. They've got keto, high protein, carb conscious. 50% off your order, factormeals.com/bituation50 off, BITCHUATION 5050OFF. Use that code to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Bituation50 off at factormeals.com/bituation50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Seriously, if you haven't done this, don't sleep on this. This is like the easiest thing you could do. Try it. See if you like it. If you don't, that's cool. But I will contest. They're incredibly tasty and you should throw down for it. So thank you so much to both Factor and Sunset Lake for being sponsors. And now let's get on with the show with someone I am so happy to bring on. I've been a longtime admirer, and I'm just so happy that she is just crushing it lately. She's the host of Krystal, Kyle, and Friends and the Breaking Points show with Krystal and Sagar. She's also the author of The Populist Guide to 2020. Please welcome Krystal Ball.
Hey, Francesca. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. My God, there's so much to talk about, but I wanna first bring you in and allow you the space and time, like I do here in this little healing sesh, to allow you to bitch about anything you want or bituate on. We call it bituating, but what are you bituating about?
Yeah, when you said I could do that, I was like, damn, how long have you got? Because this could take a while. Before I jump into mine, I just wanted to add a comment to what you were saying about the two individuals you highlighted who were murdered. I don't know if you saw, Jeremy Diamond, who is the Jerusalem correspondent for CNN, went to report on that story of that American Floridian who was murdered.
Yes.
And he was also attacked by violent settlers. He and his team were attacked and like their car, the back window trashed and smashed in or whatever. So, I mean, it's just absolutely insane. But
no, when I was reading about it, I was like, oh, damn, CNN was literally on the ground right there. And they didn't even know how to describe the weapon that was used by the settlers to, smash in the window and attack them. And they said, like, it seemed like the cops were not doing anything. So this is our media.
Typical. Right. Yeah, which would be typical.
Yeah, this is American media firsthand. And yet, then you've got like your Dana Bashes and your Jake Tappers who are out there, talking about anti-Semitism left and right, when like your own crews are being attacked by Israeli settlers. Like, you might be time to, call this shit out.
Yeah. And I don't think that Jeremy Diamond is Hamas, as they claim that everyone, it's always, like you said, it's always the victim shaming. But the thing I wanted to specifically bitch to you about is these Make-A-Wish ass billionaires who think they can buy literally anything. And I don't know if you saw this story. So Bill Ackman, apparently when he's not, trying to destroy the country and and go on his jihad against fake anti-Semitism and canceling people or trying to rig the New York mayoral primary, he apparently bought his way into a professional tennis tournament, like a legit professional tennis tournament happening at the Tennis Hall of Fame. He paid his way into this thing and played in a doubles match with a former sort of like majors champion. Jack Sock was his teammate. And Bill Ackman, like, I'm sure for a 59-year-old non-pro, is fine at tennis.
Right.
But it was so humiliating and embarrassing.
That's my first instinct was like, but again,
why would you even want this?
Why would you want this? This is like me being like, no, okay, I like gymnastics. I used to do it when I was in 6th grade. I could definitely compete, and I should buy my way into this tournament. And then just like, fucking pull a muscle doing the splits in the middle of that's so embarrassing.
Like me and you, Simone Biles, let's go. Right. Or like,
come on now.
I mean, I was a swimmer. Like the thought of me jumping into a pool against someone in their prime, like, preposterous. So it's humiliating. The other guys start just sort of like tapping the ball to him and he's still just whiffing, and it's so embarrassing. Okay. So the tennis world is furious. Andy Roddick is, big former major champion, one of the great, American men's tennis players. He has a podcast now. He was going on. He says it's the most pathetic thing he's ever seen in sports and was thoroughly disgusted because he saw it as like his sport that he cares deeply about being defiled. This is the Challenger Tour, where you have a bunch of tennis players who are sort of like top 200, let's say, but not the top. And this is where they grind it out making a living. And so he's taking a slot from them, his for his little Make-A-Wish situation. And then, as is the case with Bill Ackman, he couldn't just leave it alone with that. He had to post multiple coping, like book-length essays on Twitter about how actually this all worked out perfectly according to plan because it got people talking about tennis. And actually, the reason he played so poorly was because they were hitting the ball so softly to him. It threw him off his game. And in reality, he plays all the time against Division I tennis players and former recently retired pros, and it always goes really great. So
this is amazing.
It's incredible. I'm obsessed with the story. And I think it's silly, but also I do think it says something legitimately terrifying about the billionaire mind, that you can be so disconnected from reality that you think the laws of physics and sport and athleticism don't even apply to you. You think somehow convince yourself this is going to go well. You have the entitlement to think you deserve this spot, and you surround yourself with a bunch of people who are never going to tell you, what are you thinking?
No, I think you're absolutely right. It's like a little microcosm of a massive problem, which is billionaires in general. And I do think there is something very connected. We're taught to think, that they're geniuses and that's why they have so much money. But also, no, is it the pure hubris and the audacity to do something like, I don't know, underpaying people, or doing insider trading or whatever way, exploiting worker, all the ways that people actually get the money they get, and cheating the system like they are so used to. And so why wouldn't they be able to cheat something like sports? And I think what you're trying to say, Krystal, is we need to protect men's sports.
That's exactly right. We need to protect men's sports from Bill Ackman and other billionaires who think that they can just buy their way into this thing. I watched the Netflix doc recently on the Titan submersible and that dude Stockton Rush. Yes. And it was a similar deal. And it really reminded me of Elon because it's these guys don't think the rules of the universe are going to apply to it. He broke every rule. They did every single test they did with this thing went poorly. And he still was just plowing forward. Yeah. And so foolish that he literally thought he himself went down in this thing that, was obviously doomed ultimately. And it reminds me so much of just how dangerous these guys are and how different, when you get to some certain level of wealth, it's just a completely different deal. And it's wildly inconsistent with having any sort of like democratic society, which is why obviously billionaires need to go away and not exist.
I think to me, that's a litmus test. I think ask your.
That's true.
I think the litmus test is, do you think billionaires should or should not exist? To me, another litmus test is, do you think I should be abolished? These are important questions. But I do say, like, the Titan guy, or whatever the hell it was called, like, at least he had the decency to go down in his own piece of junk, whereas Elon Musk has yet to have the decency to get on one of his SpaceX flights.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Like, Elon realizes maybe I shouldn't go up in one of these things since they keep blowing up.
Go on that rocket, dog, if you really believe in yourself. Krystal, there's a lot that happened this week. Before we get into my two stories, I'm going to subject you to what I'm calling it's a new segment since Trump was reelected. It's called Orange Man Bad. It's a place where we put all the pain, all the hurt, all the things, and try to make light of it. Here we go. This is Orange Man Bad. All right, this week on Orange Man Bad, the Supreme Court has overruled a federal judge and allowed Linda McMahon to hollow out the Department of Education, despite the funds already being allocated by Congress, which should have control over these decisions. Now, I've said, and I'll say it again, I'd be okay with Linda McMahon dissolving the Department of Ed, but only if she did it in the way she knows how and in the way that teachers do every day, which is wrestling 35 sixth graders into submission. And my guess is she would not last. But if she did, she gets to hollow it out. The Department of Homeland Security is in talks to create more alligator Alcatrazes. That's right, in 5 other states. Now, they won't obviously be called alligator Alcatraz, but you can only imagine what other names there might be. Like Arizona will have Snake Sing Sing, and Texas will have Feral Hog Folsom, and Wyoming will just have Grouse Guantanamo. And that's arguably a lot better. Like, you definitely want to get sent to Grouse. Grouse is where it's at. A new reporting that an Irish tourist spent 100 days in ICE detention after overstaying his visa by 3 days. 100 days for 3 days. An Irishman. You guys, the racism of this administration is so bad. We are unwhiting the Irish. That's where we are. Orange Man's Defense Department announced a $2 billion contract with Grok, Elon Musk's AI assistant, who last week just called itself Mecha Hitler after Musk reprogrammed it to say racial slurs. Now, obviously, that's earned the trust of Pete Hegseth, who says that all Grok has to do now is beat him at beer pong, and it will be fully on board. And finally, the State Department fired 1,300 people who work as diplomats or in the foreign service here and abroad, proving there is no greater way to deal with the rest of the world than pretend it doesn't exist. And it is kind of worrying, given that all of these people are usually those who alert us if there's like any threats or imminent attacks. But according to Marco Rubio's logic, you can't do a terror attack if nobody's home. Think about it. Just, it won't happen. And that is Orange Man Bad. Thank you for indulging me. And we loo it out as it gets stuck in people's head.
I was sort of mesmerized by the spinning toilets.
Dude, there's one.
My son's very into the whole skibbity toilet thing. So it was
I don't even know what that is. I think I know what skibbity is, but I don't know I don't want to know.
That's where it comes from. So you got to know your skibbity origin story here, Fran. Your kids are older. You'll get it.
My kid is tiny. My kid will be on she's going to be fully AI'd by the time she's 5. Let's get into our 2 main stories. This is the week where. Okay, this is the week where MAGA continues to turn on Donald Trump over not the Iran war, not immigration, not the hollowing out of the federal government, but I think maybe on something that some of us didn't really see coming, which was Epstein. Something that a lot of people, not on the right, kind of agree should be investigated. But Krystal, here's a little slice of someone burning their MAGA hats over
I'm not going to play with these anymore. MAGA hats are off. America First hats are on. Burn, baby, burn. And this is a great representation of what's left of MAGA.
Fighting words. Wow.
You do love to see it.
Yes. And over the weekend, there was, I guess, how many conferences do Turning Points USA have? Like every day there's like, oh, there's another Charlie Kirk conference.
It seemed like it went on for a really long time. That was a lot of content creation right there.
They had to. Here's Laura Ingraham asking people about the Epstein files, and listen to their answer.
How many of you are satisfied? You can clap. Satisfied with the results of the Epstein investigation? Clap. Okay, I told you to clap. You guys aren't listening. I'm not going to grade you on a curve. So I was going to get to that. How many of you are not satisfied with the results of the investigation?
Okay, Krystal, I just have to ask before we get to the new line. I felt like over the weekend, not whatever you think MAGA is, but a lot of the right-wing commentators had been flailing. Charlie Kirk was interviewing Megyn Kelly, and they were all like, I don't know, maybe Epstein is Mossad. You've got Laura Ingraham clearly thrown off by the fact that nobody clapped when she was like, who was satisfied? It's like, yeah, honey, because nobody's satisfied. But it seems like they were like, crap, what is the line? Look, Dan Bongino is still apparently deputy FBI director, still apparently MIA. Kash Patel is, I think, holding the line. Laura Loomer and other MAGAs are going after Pam Bondi, who is technically Kash and Bongino's boss. I mean, the buck stops with her, but MAGA's like, oh, fuck, what do we do?
Right. Well, and not only that, so their normal go-to is if Trump does something bad, it's not his fault. The people around him are sabotaging him. It's the deep state, blah, blah, blah. So the instant reaction was like, what's going on with Dan Bongino and Kash Patel? And then Trump immediately puts out a truth that's like, Kash and Dan Bongino are doing a good job. Love them. They're getting, quote unquote, back to the basics was what he said. And then there was a shift towards, oh, it must be that bitch Pam Bondi's fault then. It must be her. That's where we're going to put the blame. And then he comes out. And, you know, Pam's doing a great job. There you go. What's going on with my boys?
And in some cases, is this how you address your kids, by the way, Krystal? I really hope that that's how you're talking to them now.
I need to start. That's
you should walk into every room in the morning. What's going on with my boys? And in some cases.
So here, not only does he have an epic open, but he backs up Pam Bondi entirely and then claims that the files were written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan. And he did that other, responded to that other question where he was like, basically, how dare you continue talking about this dead creep when we've got so many other things? So at every pass, whatever cope they were trying to grapple with or grab onto, he just like cut him off at the pass. And so they had to get creative. You had Alex Jones floating like maybe what Trump's doing is he's using the files to blackmail the deep state so he can really get his agenda through and they can't do anything about it. And then I think after this, Alex Jones also just landed on somehow this must be the Democrats' fault and we're just going to stick with that. And then I know you're going to probably get to now they're just like, yeah, we trust Trump. We trust him. We're just going to stop talking about this now.
I think you actually called it when you said there's a pattern here. And it like, again, it's sort of like, you know, it's gone off track. They've gone off the tracks a little bit and all the mouthpieces are like, what do we do? And now the ship is righting itself, similar to what happened when, you know, Trump attacked Iran and they were like, no new wars, but we're attacking Iran. And now you have Charlie Kirk saying he trusts his people in the government and he's not going to talk about Jeff Epstein anymore.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend. So if you guys want to see my commentary on it, that's fine. We have escalatory action potentially being taken in Ukraine and Russia. We have tons of announcements happening when it comes to NATO. But let me just say this again. Everyone knows my opinion about the Epstein thing, the messaging fumble, I would love to see the DOJ move to unseal the grand jury testimony. I think that would be a big win. I would love to see that. And I'm going to trust my friends, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, my friend Pam Bondi, all these guys. I'm going to, Todd Blanche, I'm going to trust them to solve it. Ball's in their court. I think that there was plenty of, let's say, speeches that were directed towards this topic this last weekend. So we don't need to spend our valuable time on this program relitigating it.
Amazing.
Incredible. I don't know if you saw Dinesh D'Souza said something similar. I actually pulled it up so I could read it. He said, "Is it time to move on from the Jeffrey Epstein case? I want to argue the answer is yes. I'm going to talk about the Epstein files. I'm going to make the case that even though there are unanswered questions about Epstein, it is in fact time to move on." Ben Shapiro, he did a debate with Megyn Kelly. It's actually kind of interesting, this debate, but he said the same thing. He was like, Megyn, I was open to some of these potential conspiracies, but then they put out that memo. He actually said that. And she was like, "You were convinced by the 2-page memo?" He's like, "Well, not that so much as like, I really trust this administration, and you've got Trump and JD Vance and Kash and Pam and Dan Bongino. And so look, I think there's no there. I think there's nothing to see here, and it's time to move on." I mean, it's also not lost on anybody that many of the people who are most strongly and firmly planted in the nothing to see here, time to move on camp are also very pro-Israel. And there is, something very noteworthy about that as well, and the potential Mossad connections. But no, like you said, they've gotten their marching orders. Fox News, Media Matters was tracking yesterday morning till noon, at least, 0 mentions of Epstein. The Trump administration, Trump himself placed a call to Charlie Kirk and said, "Stop criticizing Pam," and moved on from this. And that's basically what they're doing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly is just like, she's so mad she can't. She loves dumping on women. I love that Megyn Kelly's feminism is like, I support women everywhere, but Pam Bondi is a cunt and she needs to die. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Megyn Kelly is.
But I mean, can't we get on board with that sentiment though? Really?
I mean, there's so many See Next Tuesdays in this administration, but I do think that this poll came out and it really, really pissed me off because of the way that we cover this. Because being against genocide is really not a left or right issue. It's just kind of in the popular consciousness. Like it really does. It rises far above, party and politics. Epstein is similar. People who think that shady shit went down, that the connections that, Epstein had were too big to allow him to just be an alive person.
Mm-hmm.
That spans the gamut. And according to this new YouGov poll, is actually more prevalent when it comes to Harris voters. Yes, specifically Harris voters. It is more prevalent in liberals and leftists and Democrats. But do you think the government is covering up evidence it has about Epstein? Harris voters, 81% yes, 3% no, which means there's a lot of I don't know, maybe. Trump voters, 59% yes, the government's covering up evidence, and 12% no. Now, I understand that they're being asked that now. This is in July, so them saying yes would have to implicate their Lord and Savior, their God Emperor. But still, it is just wild to me. And it makes, to me, it's like Epstein was always an issue that spanned left and right, that most people talked about. And I was really annoyed and upset that once Jeff Epstein did die, the mainstream news dropped it like a hot potato. MSNBC never did any more exposés or discussions about the victims. Same, I forget who else, but for many months there, Krystal, do you remember it was wall to wall interviewing the Miami Herald reporters that broke the story. When he was arrested, it was and then as soon as he died, it was nope.
Almost like that was the point. Almost like that was the point. No, I really, on the one hand, it's sort of silly that this would be the thing that MAGA would be most upset about. And look, I think you and I both believe they're going to come back home. They're already coming back home. I don't know that there'll be any substantial damage with regard to the base. But I think it's fair to say this is the issue where there's been the most tumult and the most upset. And
Yeah.
so on one hand, you're like, okay, well, that seems silly when you compare it to like war, for example. I mean, Trump, on Ukraine, he's doing something totally different than what he advertised. Obviously, he bombed Iran, etc. On the other hand, I don't want to dismiss this as some just like side irrelevant conspiracy, because if Donald Trump is actually like a pedophile who Mossad has dirt on, that is pretty highly freaking relevant.
Yeah.
And something that's really important that we should actually know about. And if there are others as well, like that would be important too. But he is the president of the United States. And if Mossad has very serious dirt on him, yes, I do actually think that's an important thing. Not to mention that I just went back and watched the Netflix documentary talking to these women. I mean, poor Virginia Giuffre,
Yes.
dead now.
Yeah.
She up. Like these women's lives were absolutely ruined and destroyed, and they were abandoned and betrayed by every level of the criminal justice system, all the way up to the end where Jeffrey Epstein is able to, escape and get away without having his day in court by very likely, I think, being killed, but quote unquote killing himself. So, to just sort of sweep that aside, this sexual molestation of underage girls Ponzi scheme, and pretend like that failure and accountability for that doesn't matter. It's also an attack just on sort of the like basic societal foundation trust in our systems and institutions and the ability to deliver justice and for everyone, not just those who, are poor, working class, middle class, etc. But yes, for the most powerful in the country. So I think that's an important issue. I think it's an important issue now. I think it was an important issue when no bankers went to prison. I think it was an important issue in terms of, trust when there was, continue to be a cover up around JFK, et cetera. Like these things actually do break down a society.
Yep. No, I completely agree. And no, you're right. It's just, it adds to the lack of trust unraveling. But I love the back timing of Trump to be like, actually, it was Biden. Actually, it was Obama, even though we know that Pam Bondi and then his former Secretary of Labor were part of these sweetheart deals and or lack of, bringing any charges against Epstein. It was only when Pam Bondi was not AG of Florida that he was even arrested on sex trafficking charges.
That's right.
And I watched a documentary too, and I encourage everyone to I think it's the Netflix series about Epstein. It is devastating. It is insane. And we should the QAnon obsession of child trafficking, where they somehow think all of this leads to Nancy Pelosi, which is so ironic because Nancy Pelosi's daughter, when Epstein was arrested, tweeted something like, look, even if some of our faves are nabbed in this, which is maybe like Bill Gates, who does incredible, humanitarian work and whatnot, or, in addition to buying up way too much farmland and all this and all the other things about being a billionaire. But it's like, even she's like, look, we got to get to the bottom of this, even if people like Clinton are implicated, completely giving this like very honest, I don't care who gets ensnared in this because it's a huge deal. And I just want to move to the messaging real quick. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to elaborate on what you're saying about Alex Acosta, because he was U.S. attorney who, agreed to the sweetheart deal with Jeffrey Epstein. That was so bad that actually a judge came in and said, you actually can't do this. You violated the rights of these victims, because this was all negotiated behind closed doors, meant that none of the survivors here got to have their day in court, got to challenge this deal. And not only did it say, okay, you get a slap on the wrist and basically like home confinement, and then you get to go about, your life and continue doing the horrible things that you were already doing, but any co-conspirators also are off the hook. So Ghislaine Maxwell today is challenging her sentence up to the Supreme Court, saying, hey, I was part of that deal. Like, you made the deal, saying the co-conspirators get off. I was one of the co-conspirators. How come I'm in prison? And I don't know what direction that's going to go in, but even she is able to use, that's how unprecedented crazy this sweetheart deal was negotiated by Trump's first labor secretary or not first labor secretary, one of his labor secretaries from 2016.
Right. Now, I think some Democrats are actually messaging pretty hard on it, because I think what's been really frustrating is that they don't touch it. A lot of leading Dems don't want to touch the issue. And some are. I mean, this strong tweet from AOC, which immediately triggered the right. Wow, who would have thought that electing a rapist would have complicated the release of the Epstein files? Yes, a convicted sexual abuser AKA rapist, however you want to parse that to, save yourself legally. But this follows from AOC being like, look, I'm not going to go to the inauguration of a rapist. Sorry, she refused to go to Trump's inauguration. And of course, the right is like, we're going to sue you for defamation. Now, Krystal, I don't know how many, I think you've been on Piers Morgan too, but every time I think I made some sort of joke about Pete Hegseth being a rapist too. And immediately it's like, oh, we're going to sue you for defamation. It's incredible. And it always is like, I always forget to point out the hypocrisy. This is like, these are free speech warriors.
Right.
These are, you're a little special snowflake and, go to your safe space, people. But when you say anything, especially something that's actually grounded in like fact,
can't do that.
They're like, oh, defamation.
Well, and Trump has always been that way. And for AOC, I suspect that language was very intentional from her because she knows that Trump sued George Stephanopoulos, wasn't it, over his use of the term rapist. Because, well, technically he wasn't found guilty of rape. He was civilly liable for sexual assault. It was like, almost exactly the same thing. And there's no way that if you took that thing to trial, that they would have actually found in favor of Trump on this ludicrous defamation suit. But obviously the news network caved and wanted to essentially buy off Trump. And so that's what they did. So for her to use that language specifically, that he had already launched a lawsuit over, I think, it just shows it's the way you have to approach these people. Like, you can't be cowed. You can't cower. You can't be afraid. You have to go full steam ahead. That's the only thing that they respond to.
And they respect. I mean, John Ossoff said this. We have to move on, but I just want to play this because it was similar.
President Trump promised to end the wars. He promised to release the Epstein files. Did anyone really think the sexual predator president who used to party with Jeffrey Epstein was going to release the Epstein files?
So
how about that?
Yep. And it's good messaging, but I mean, I wanted to turn to Andrew Cuomo, who's back in the race for mayor of New York, even though he lost very handily to Zohran Mamdani. Cuomo's back. He's got a very cringe campaign video that is just, it looks...
I'm Andrew Cuomo. And
Krystal I don't want to play the whole thing because it's long, but Krystal, this is just Cuomo biting off of Zohran's style of being out in the world.
Yeah.
In New York.
Yes. But not even coming close to pulling it off and it being so obvious what he's doing. He even stole some of his campaign issues, actually I'm about affordability. I'm the man of the people out here on the streets.
Yep. And even though he's got this is my favorite part. He has to actually, I think this, where's this? Wait. Oh, I'm fucking this up again.
Every you are to hear the good and the bad, problems and solutions. Because for
this is my favorite part. He hits this woman on the shoulder to give him a handshake. She wasn't really going to, and to get the shot, he smacks her on the shoulder, like, "Hey, you want a handshake?"
in the streets, meeting you where you are to hear the good and the bad, problems and solutions. Because for the next few,
hey, did you want to handshake me?
You want to do the thing?
The way that Zohran, did you recognize me? The way Zohran gets recognized? Did you want a selfie? No, thanks. I'm good. And just today, Donald Trump said basically that he hopes Andrew does stay in this mayoral race. Effectively, that he wishes him well. I mean,
just like he wished Ghislaine Maxwell well.
Exactly. He said, I think he should stay in the race. When asked about Cuomo's independent bid, I think he has a shot. So again, this is someone I think who represents, and I want to transition this into a conversation around the Democratic Party, very much the old Democratic Party. And Zohran, to me, especially with his language around being relentlessly focused on the working class and very much pointing out that really focusing on working class issues and also multiracial, pro-immigrant working class issues is this antidote to Trumpism, which is such a cynical political movement, which really is about, look, I throw my hands up, maybe we should have an autocrat, I don't know what to do anymore, that only this kind of politics can put out this MAGA fire and actually contest it. What are your thoughts on that? And I guess, we're 6 months in now. The Democratic Party's fight, this, in some ways we are stuck with this vehicle, but in many ways it is so not equipped for this moment still.
I mean, I think it's a house of cards, and I do think that Zohran is like one of the first pieces to crumble, because he really did expose them onto. I mean, the fact that he ran as an explicit anti-Zionist in New York City and won is an earthquake. It is an earthquake, and there is no putting that genie back in the bottle. The cat has just joined me here.
Yes,
struggling to climb up. But I think we really can't underestimate how much that changes the calculus of just, sort of like ambitious Democrats who could find themselves landing in any number of places. But, with regard to Cuomo's run here specifically, first of all, what happened to vote blue no matter who, right? The fact that you have a centrist who got his ass, I mean, it wasn't close, right? Maybe if it was really close or, so it still would be preposterous, but you lost. You got your ass whooped. And now you're still going forward, and you have Democratic leaders like Hakeem Jeffries who still can't figure out whether or not to endorse the Democratic nominee. Like, what are we doing here? But what they don't understand, and I think what the Cuomo video that you just showed exposes, is they really think that Zohran's secret is like, oh, he's really good at these videos.
Yes.
And oh, he's young and he's good looking and he's like naturally talented. And it's like, yeah, okay, those things are all good and helpful, but also you have to pay attention to what he's actually offering here, like the political project that he's engaged in. It doesn't matter if Andrew Cuomo gets on TikTok and gets even really good at, the format. That is not going to save you if you don't have an anti-fascist agenda and a, sort of democratic socialist agenda that actually resonates with working people. We know that's what defeats fascism. That's what defeats fascism in our past.
Yes, and Bernie proved this. I mean, he was the anti-candidate. He's been the anti-candidate from his announcement in 2015 or whatever it was. Just like rolling up to the lawn. Anyway, I'm running for president because the 1% has way too much power. And everyone was like, thank you for saying the thing that we've all been thinking.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so I watched, it was a very interesting podcast. It was Ezra Klein and Chris Hayes just talking about like the medium and the videos and the way he used that and the memes and like, and I'm not going to say these things don't matter. Like, it is important to be current with the current medium, and his mom's a filmmaker and that clearly like informed the direction that he took his videos and whatever. But many of these people are totally missing the point. I actually saw a Morning Joe panel where he brought on this centrist representative, Tom Suozzi, who had written this anti-Zohran Wall Street Journal op-ed. And they asked him some question like, why is it just like the lefties like Bernie and AOC and Zohran who have all of the energy? Like, why can't a centrist have energy like that? And it's like, wow. you guys are so lost.
It is
so lost.
I've been doing some coverage about, it's the what is it, like the Welcome Fest did something similar in DC where they were like literally openly saying, well, we want the energy of progressives, but without the policies. And it's like, oh, honey, like, so yeah. And I was just like, you want to wear their skin. You want to, the other thing is this, Krystal, it's like, they can't even pretend. Because what you should do if you're not actually a progressive or you don't care about working class people is you just lie. You know what I mean? You have the decency to do a Trump, which is I'm going to speak to the issues, but I'm not actually going to make good on the issues. That's what politicians do generally. I mean, I'm not saying that when Zohran, and I hope, becomes mayor, he's going to deliver, resoundingly. There's going to be a massive uphill battle. But you know what I mean? It's like Democrats can't even like pretend they're standing for the thing. And I guess I want to ask you about 2026 and 2028. Especially when it comes to people and leaders like AOC. I don't know when I'm going to get you on next, Krystal. I could always bother you, but do you think that that rather she skips Senate, goes right for a White House run? What are your thoughts on this?
I have I don't have any special insight, but I think there's a good chance. And, it seemed like with the Fight Oligarchy tour, Bernie was really sort of like laying his hands on her as like, this is my successor.
Right.
This is the next person to carry the flame. And so I could certainly see it. And I think there's a much greater chance of success of someone from the left of the party winning this time, because the base of the Democratic Party is so much more radicalized. You know, the liberals are disgusted with party leadership. And I do think the schism over Israel probably plays a central role, because it has become a stand-in for basically like, do you have a soul? Do you have any principles whatsoever? Are you willing to buck like organized money on anything, even something as central and horrifying as a genocide? Yep. And we both know that the Democratic base overwhelmingly at this point is in one place, and the Democratic leadership overwhelmingly is in another place. Yep. So I think it will be a central dividing line and litmus test issue where if you aren't at least somewhat good there, then most Democratic primary voters are not going to want to hear the rest of what you have to say. So because of those sort of confluence of factors, I do think whether it's AOC or someone else sort of from the left of the party, there are also the people who've been doing the best job just fighting against Trump, which is all what Democratic base voters want to see from their elected officials and have gotten far too little love in under Trump 2.0.
Right. I mean, and let's just like keep it 100 that, you know, when it comes to Bernie, even if he were younger, his stance on Palestine isn't very good. Like, it's just like he took a very long time. It's way better than any senator. Of course, this is someone who's put forward legislation to stop arming Israel. And I think that's really important. But I do feel like he has let us down in many ways. I mean, I even small ways, like, you know, his rally, I forgot where, but like someone had a Palestine flag and he allowed that person to be like kicked out. And it's just like, that shit is just so, yeah, I know it's petty of me to point that out, but it's very indicative. And so I do hope, and I also, you know, we all remember AOC saying Kamala's working tirelessly and Biden's working tirelessly for a ceasefire, which we know turned out not to be true. So I do hope there is not a mea culpa, but just a refocus and a shift if and when she runs for higher office on that issue. And it starts with ending U.S. aid to Israel.
Yeah. And that's where the Zohran victory, I think, becomes really important, because if you're a person like AOC who's looking around and testing the waters of, well, how far can I go on this thing? You look at that and you go, okay, this landscape is different. And so that's where, you know, the people who are doing sort of cynical political calculations, the Zohran victory in the city in the world outside of Tel Aviv with the largest concentration of Jewish voters, him winning a resounding victory there, where you had actually some Jews saying, you know what, the way that Cuomo cynically weaponized anti-Semitism, Ezra Klein said this, that made me not rank him at all. That's how disgusted I was with it.
Interesting. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. So I just think for politicians who are always going to be finger in the wind and where can I go and what's safe and where's, you know, what's the farthest edge of the Overton window, I think he really changed the game in that regard, which is why I think his victory is so incredibly significant.
Krystal Ball, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people listen to you, see you, support you?
breakingpoints.com for Breaking Points, and you can subscribe to Krystal Kyle and Friends over on Substack. Great to see you, Francesca. This was fun. Thank you.
Always. I need to pick your brain about being in a political couple. I sort of am as well, but you know, it's amazing when people think, because you and Kyle turn on the camera and talk and wax on, but like even when the cameras are off, you're probably also just like going on and on and on.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes Matt and I'll be talking like, we should just stream this, god damn it. But anyway, thank you so much for making time. Take care.
My pleasure.
I wanted to just thank you guys because, you know, me being able to read Matt's article, to talk about it when it comes to Jared Kushner and Albania and the Israel connections is part of that first video that I did for y'all, Gaza 2035, or the 5 worst ideas for the future of Gaza, the 5 most insane ideas. So thank you to the patrons and the supporters and everyone who's given super chats, because that's literally where that money goes. People like Tare Byrne, who's become a member. People like Rachel Atwood, who says, who's got 5 thumbs and a ticket to the Bell House? Yeah. 5 thumbs. 5 thumbs? 2 thumbs? I don't get that. Moondragon, Seattle, August 2nd is booked for 2. Hell yeah, Moondragon. Excited to see you. Pitchforks Dragon says, YouTube titles are wild lately. So-and-so is exploding over Epstein. Guys, phrasing. Seriously, are we not doing phrasing anymore? Dude, YouTube titles are wild. You should know. Paige and I had like a whole back and forth about what we should include in the titles. And I feel you. If only we had, proper big time copy editors to come in. But thank you for the super chat. I'll take your money for that critique. Kowalczyk says pundits are just politicians in a different form. I mean, they are the mouthpieces, right? I mean, the problem right now is that Republicans all see themselves just as podcasters first and then as legislators. I don't think we need more podcasters. I just think we need better media, and more people need to actually shell out and pay for the media that they appreciate and they like. That's the sad and yet real reality, right? Private equity has come for all of us. Dougie the Dragon says, love you, Franny. Keep up the awesome work. The long form video is super. Thank you. And thank you, Sarah Benchley. Franny, you could totally do adult gymnastics. It's super fun. No, I would break my back. I don't do like inversions in yoga or anything. I kill myself. DJ Mission member for 7 months. Hey, everybody, 2 weeks in a row here to TBR. Hell yeah. Look at you showing up. Instructor says the 2026 should be the clean house primaries on both sides. It's time for people to take back control from these corrupt politicians. I mean, we can only clean up, I think, the Democratic side of the street. That's the place that we have the most leverage and power. But in terms of Republicans, I only think it gets worse for them. Like, they are so insane, it gets worse for them. But we will see. Terrence Trumbo, Fran believes in Mercury retrograde too. God, I swear it's real. Oh, please. This is the second time this has happened to me. This morning, I was like, you know what? Something's really wrong is going to happen with this stream. And that's okay, because it's in the cards to happen. And Pitchfork Dragon says, actually, it's weird when people say Mercury is in retrograde. Earth is freaking retrograde. Mercury really is in retrograde. Yeah. So is effing Earth. Dude, that's some astrology, actually. And I love it. And to thank all the people who've become patrons at $10 or more, I'm really just sending this fart song out to you. And you too. Thank you for all the Fab, Giles, Marcock. I don't want to say cock, but I said cock. Marcock. David Neil Bradley. Thank you for upgrading. Joseph Stevenson, Tracy Ava, Brian Wolf, DL, Rike, Rich Thurman, Cassie Murphy, Sheila Leeming. You guys are awesome. I know your names. I know you've been around for so long. I appreciate it. If you're watching on Substack, you can become a paid member. If you're watching on YouTube, you can join. Just like Tanya Dodgers gave out a membership. You'll get our episodes one day early, our videos one day early, and my undying love. And thank you, Revis Markman, as well. You're the best. And that does it, you guys. This has been a production of Mercury in her retrograde. I'm Francesca Fiorentini. I will see you next Tuesday. Remember to follow us on all the things: Bituation Pod, Bituation Room, Blue Sky. We're up on the Blue Sky. Get your tickets. Also for October 13th, that's a Monday in Brooklyn, but I believe in you, Brooklyn, okay? I super believe in you. Maybe I'll use my Zohran connections and try to get him to come out to the show. Get your tickets also for Houston. Remember, patrons get $5 off of that ticket. Houston, August 28th. That's a Thursday right before Labor Day weekend. Everyone's back to school. It all sucks, but Matt and I are going to be in Houston. So until next time, fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, free Palestine, and don't just bitch about it, be about it. Bye.